Greetings, everybody. Dr. McQuate coming at you from the Grove. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing great. I hope you had a super week and you're feeling blessed. And I want to welcome you to the video. I wanted to get this video out to you yesterday, but just got too busy and didn't have a chance to do it. As you'll notice, I'm not in the Grove tonight. I'm coming at you from the Grove, but I'm not in the Grove tonight because it's very humid today. And I thought that this video might end up being a little bit longer, so I didn't want to be all sweaty and irritated down there in the Grove trying to make a long video and not be concise and not be thorough in what I want to share with you tonight. So I'm doing it from the home office. I don't think that I've ever done a video from the home office before, so welcome to the office here at the Grove. The Inner Circle office. This is where Dr. McQuate does his work. This is where I do all my exegesis, my research, my writing, the apprentice sessions, and I'd give you a grand tour, but it's a little room in a farmhouse, so it would take all of 10 seconds, but I'll show you around just a little bit here and let you know where I do my work. I'm using a new contraption, by the way. It's not new, I've had it for like 3 years, but I've never used it. It's supposed to follow me, and so as I do my movements, it's supposed to, follow me and all that. So if it works well, maybe I'll use it for some other videos. Over here, we've got the computer that I work on. I don't know if you can see it or not. If I do this, maybe it'll follow me. This is the computer I work on over here, and right behind me, this is a copy of The Fowler's Snare. This is my newest book. If you've not gotten your copy, please do so, because you will love this book. I guarantee it. You will love it. The Fowler's Snare. Information in this book that you will not find anywhere else in the world, and it will blow your mind. I promise. I promise. So grab your copy if you have it at paxionpublishing.com. Up here is a very interesting picture. Are we gonna have problems already with the goofy gizmo? Okay, I think it's working now. Okay. It uses sign language, so if I got to be careful what I do with my hands, because if I make the wrong gesture, it doesn't work. So anyway, over here, this is a very special picture to me. I got that years ago, and it's actually a picture of Asu teaching the elders in the temple, and they're all like really hanging on every word he says, and they're learning things that they, in all their scholarly wisdom, never knew. And it's just a reminder to me that the religious leaders of our world, generally speaking, don't know jack. And that's something that, I don't say that condescendingly or critically, but it's just true. It's something that I've proven hundreds, if not thousands of times over the years. And so that picture's there to remind me of that, and that there's work to be done. Over here is where I have another monitor. This monitor over here is where I normally have a live earthquake feed running. It's a free service. You can put it on your computer. You might be able to get it on your phone also. But I have it because we have a huge amount of seismic activity going on lately, and it's all part of the prophetic timeline. We expected it to happen. And for instance, just yesterday we had another 8.0 earthquake in Antarctica, there in the South Pole. Right on the heels, it was an 8.0, right on the heels of the 8.8 that we just had in Russia like a week ago. And so I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on regarding the earthquakes around the world, and this is a good way to do it. And if you notice, up here is a super good friend of the Inner Circle, my best friend ever in my life, my soul companion, essentially my best friend, Mr. Scouter, and he is the expert exegetical researcher, and he always double checks my work to make sure all the logograms are correct and that all my research is right before I pass it on to you. And he does an exceptional job, and I know that you all miss seeing him in the videos, but I want you to know that we will see him again, just like the little friends that you have all lost also. We will see him again. But there he is, overlooking all my work, and with me every step of the way here at the office in the Grove, at the Inner Circle office in the Grove. So, welcome to the office. I want to share some stuff tonight with you about the recent activity, the Red Hawk thunderstorm saga at the Grove. I want to keep you apprised of what's going on with that. Some of what I'm going to share tonight, I've already posted a little bit of it on Telegram, if you've read that, and I sent a little video to you also about the hawk that I found. But I'm going to go into more detail tonight about some of these things, which I just find fascinating, literally. And I think that the Father orchestrated these things to be a sign for us. Okay? So, sit tight and just take it all in. If you do not have a pen and paper with you, I want you to stop for a minute, pause the video, and I really recommend that you take notes regarding what I'm going to say, because this stuff is pretty cool. And I hope that I can remember all this off the top of my head about the logograms and everything and the sequence of events. But I want you to remember these things because it is relevant to what we are doing and what we're experiencing right now. Okay? Firstly, you know that a few days ago there was a little, we had a bad thunderstorm, a hellacious lightning storm, and I looked out the window of the living room and I looked outside where there's this big, huge locust tree. The locust tree is so big that, you know, two people would have to stand there and reach around to you know, it's that big. It's that, the circumference is huge. It would take two people to get their arms around it. And I looked outside the living room window and I saw something out there, and it ended up being a little red-tailed hawk. And I went outside and it was pouring down rain, and I got sopping wet, he was sopping wet, something was wrong with him. And I sat there with him in the rain for about half an hour, talking to him calmly and softly, and he let me get close enough to him to put an umbrella over both of us, and then he let me get close enough to actually pet his head. This is a red-tailed hawk we're talking about. That doesn't happen, right? But he let me get close enough to pet his head gently, just gently stroke his head and his back, and then I put the umbrella down and I gently took him by both of his wings. He was standing upright. He wasn't sitting, he wasn't laying down, he was standing upright. And I put my hands around his wings, and I took him in and put him in the screened-in porch. And I sat in the rocking chair with him in the screened-in porch until about 4:30 in the morning. I took him into the porch probably about, I don't know, 9 o'clock, something like that, 9:30. Sat out there until about 4:30. I kept dozing in and out, and I finally had to go to bed. But I have a camera on the porch that I could look and watch him on my phone, and I was worried about him, so I woke up about every hour and watched him to make sure he was okay, and he was still sitting in the same position. And when I went back the next day, that morning, he was on a box. He had hopped up on a box, and he had been shaking his feathers and gotten dried off, and he was looking all around. And I went and sat over on the rocking chair again and was talking to him and singing to him and just trying to get acclimated and let him know that he was safe. And it was so cute when I was singing to him. He would look at me like he would turn his head and put his head back like this and look at me. It was really adorable the way he responded to me. And I got the impression that he knew that he was safe. And he hopped off the box and was walking all around there on the porch, and he walked right by me several times, never tried to bite me or anything at all, and but he wouldn't eat. I brought some salmon out, and he would not eat it. And I thought, well, I don't know how long it's been since he's eaten, and I need to be responsible. I need to try to feed him something. And so I called the local bird sanctuary and talked with them about it, and they said, bring him on in and we'll see what we can do. And so I did. I got an old dog cage that I had for Scout, put a soft blanket in the bottom of it, and took him to the bird sanctuary. And I was reluctant to do that because when I called the bird sanctuary, Um, the lady I talked with didn't let me talk very much. I couldn't hardly get a word in edgewise. I really felt like she was trying to wow me with her knowledge of birds or something, and I you know, great that, you know, you went to college or whatever you did and you got your knowledge about birds, but I'm concerned about the health and well-being of the bird, and I have some questions I wanted to ask, and she would hardly let me ask any questions. She was more concerned with telling me what she wanted me to hear. But I did anyway. Against my better judgment, I took him into the bird sanctuary, and he tried to bite her twice when she tried to get him out of the cage. He never tried to bite me at all. And I think he sensed that I loved him, and I cared about him, and I wanted the best for him. I made that very clear because I spent a lot of time getting close to him to make him feel comfortable. But she took him out of the cage, finally got him, after he tried to bite her twice, and she took him back to the back and put him in one of their little cages, I guess. And she said that he was very emaciated, and she told me that she only thought he had a 10 to 15% chance of living. And I said, 10 to 15% chance of living? She said, yeah, he is very thin and emaciated. And so I just took her word for it, being the expert that she was. But he was very lively. He was moving his head a lot more, and he was looking at me, and he was hopping around and walking around. So 10 to 15% seemed pretty low to me. I called him back the next day, and I had to leave a message, and they called me back, and they said, we're sorry to say that he passed away during the night. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it crushed me too to hear that, because he was a sweet bird, you know. And I thought surely taking him to the bird sanctuary would be a good thing for him. Well, apparently, on the message they left me, apparently they gave him some painkillers, some pain medication. They shot into his veins, and they gave him another syringe where they tried to hydrate him. Well, I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, I think that probably had something to do with why he died. Maybe he got struck by lightning. Maybe he had some neurological damage. I don't know. Maybe he was in pain. He didn't do anything in my presence to make me think that he was in pain. So I don't know why they gave him that. But anyway, I don't want to digress. I'm sharing that part with you because this is a conundrum for me. You know, I wanted expert advice on Scout when Scout was not doing well. And the veterinarian that I called and left 4 messages and 4 texts for didn't call me until 11 hours after the first text. And that happened to be 20 minutes after Scout died on my living room floor. I take the bird to get him treatment from experts, and they pump him full of painkillers and IV fluids, and he dies just a few hours after I take him in. So I'm angry about that. I would bet money that if I would have kept him in my care, fed him whatever, mice from the pet store, whatever, he would probably still be alive, I'm guessing. But that being said, that's not the real reason for the video. The real reason for the video is based on why that little bird, it wasn't little, why that bird, that red-tailed hawk, was on my locust tree. Because that's where he was. He was on the base, he was on the bottom of the locust tree. And it's not a walnut tree, not a maple tree, not a sycamore tree, not an apple tree, not a birch tree. It's a locust tree. They're all around here. And, well, not all around, they're around the yard here. So, what is the significance of this? Well, if you recall from what I posted on Telegram a couple days ago, just prior, a day or two prior to this, I was looking at a mower online, and I was talking with a guy about buying his mower make sure this is still working, to mow the banks of the river down there, because the mower that I have is too heavy, and if it goes over the bank of the river, which it very easily could, it would not be a good thing. And I've already gotten it stuck down there one time on the banks. I had to pull it out with a winch. So I was looking to buy this mower. It's an old mower, and the price was right. He didn't want much for it, but I would have had to put a little work into it, but I thought it would do the trick. Anyway, so I asked him, I said, what kind of mower is this? And he said, it is a Red Hawk. And I didn't think about it at the time in connection to the red-tailed hawk that I saved from the thunderstorm. I didn't put the connection, I didn't make that connection at first. Well, now I am making that connection. There's two references to a red bird or red hawk that happened back to back. And I thought, Father, are you trying to show me something? And so I just pondered this for a little bit. And the Father said to me, he said, by 2 witnesses or 3, a thing is established. 2 is good, 3 is better, the Bible says. So I'm thinking to myself, what are you trying to show me, Father? What is the significance of this red hawk or this red bird that's happening right now? And he said to me, the Father says, he prompts me to think about this. He says, who is the red bird? And I said, well, wormwood, or Nibiru, is the red bird, or the red fiery bird, or however you want to look at it. It's the bird that dusts its wings in red iron oxide. There's different ways to look at this, but they referred to it as the red bird that returns. And it is wormwood. And the Father says, who is the reference to wormwood in the Bible? And I said, well, wormwood is what brings judgment, and the son, Asu, brings judgment. And this is what we're all waiting for. Not so patiently anymore. We've been waiting for a long time. And the Father prompts me then to look at this. And he says, who is Asu in the Bible? And I just got to thinking about this, and I said, well, he's the one that was pierced, like Adam was pierced, like the good man, or like the young man of Proverbs 7 was pierced. And the Father says to me, who is Asu in the Bible? And I said, well, Matthew 20 says he is both the good man and the Lord of the vineyard. And the Lord of the vineyard is the one who is responsible for judgment and judges those who killed the only son. But the good man of Proverbs 7 is the one who is returning from his long journey, and his wife was unfaithful. She was the adulterous wife who pierced the young man of Proverbs 7, like Adam was pierced, like Jesus was pierced. And so Asu is playing both roles. Okay? If you read Matthew 20, you'll see he's the good man and I'm making sure this is still working. And I gotta watch my hands. Can't talk with my hands because it'll make this thing do weird things. He's the good man and the Lord of the vineyard. Both very, very critical to understand. Because when the good man returns, it is to wreak havoc. It is to issue judgment on what the Bible calls the whore of Babylon, which is the good man's wife who was unfaithful. And this happens at what the Bible calls the day appointed. Listen close now. It happens, the good man returns, if you read Proverbs 7, at the day appointed. Okay? So that's when Asu returns. But when he first returns, it's for a snatching away, a taking away. He doesn't come to earth then. He doesn't come to earth until the second coming, at the end of the tribulation when he sets his foot down on the Mount of Olives. So, why is this important? Because we have three witnesses so far. We have Esu being the red bird, according to the Sumerian text, the red fiery bird. We have my talking with this guy about buying his mower, which was a red hawk. We have an actual red hawk at the base of my locust tree. He was actually on the roots of the locust tree. He was right there on the locust tree. Okay? That's three witnesses. Now, let's look at how the locust tree can be connected to the day appointed. Is it possible? I mean, am I out of my mind? Am I just grasping at straws? Is this all pareidolia? Is this pareidolia? Am I seeing things because I want to see things? No way. Listen to this. The name of the tree that he was laying on in this storm, this lightning storm, hellacious lightning storm, is a locust tree. And locust is spelled L-O-C-U-S-T. Okay? But if you look up the name of, L-O-C-U-S, it's from the Latin word spelled T-S-L-O-U-C-S. T-S-L-O-C-U-S. So the Latin version of the word locust, L-O-C-U-S, is a perfect anagram of the name of the tree that the red hawk, the red bird, was on. Okay? And the red bird represents Esu. The red bird represents the good man. The red bird represents the Lord of the vineyard who brings judgment. And we know the rapture happens at the time just prior to judgment. Because Matthew 24 says he sends forth his angels to gather together his elect out of the four winds, which if you look at the lexicon, the concordances, it'll tell you this is the same as the four corners, which is where the horns are of Zechariah 1, that the four carpenters and the horsemen are here to judge. They're here to fray the horns that are in the four corners, because we know that the altar had four corners and the horns were on the four corners, and the altar represents the earth. It's a metaphor for the earth where sacrifices were made. The daily sacrifice, which we at the inner circle know is procreation, sin, however you want to call it. It's irrefutable, it's inarguable, it's what it is, right? That's why the abomination is made desolate, because the abomination is the bedelugma in Greek, the bedelugma, and when you rightly divide that, it literally means the funnel-shaped bowl that holds the seed of the drill plow is a metaphor for the uterus, which is funnel-shaped, and holds the seed of the drill plow, which is a metaphor for the penis. Okay? This is all happening. It's all happening right now. The judgment is about to kick off big time. All right? But how can this be? How can this little red hawk at the locust tree be a sign of this? Esu is the red bird. Esu is wormwood. Make no mistake, he's the star that was pierced. Blood and water came out. The young man in Proverbs 7 was pierced. Adam was pierced. All because the RNA called the ribonucleic acid, is taken. That's what it's all about. The star was pierced to get the glycolaldehyde, because that's what you need to create ribonucleic acid. Esu is the sun. S-U-N in cuneiform is the logogram that means star. Are you following me? Are you taking notes? I hope you are. Some of this is review, but it's all coalescing right now. So please listen closely, because this is good stuff. You will not hear this anywhere else in the world, anywhere, I guarantee it. So listen, please. This is important. This is how the Father works in the lives of those who listen and those who are watching. If you do not watch, he will come upon you as a thief, he says. We're watching. We know. We understand. We're full of truth because we're immersed in the truth. We eat the truth. We ingest the truth. We consume the truth every day. This is how we know these things. This is how we know that Esu is the red bird. Esu is the red star, is wormwood, whatever, that issues judgment. The star that rises with healing in his wings. This is Esu, Jesus, as he's called in Christianity. The red bird comes back at the rapture, the harpazo. Anybody who thinks that that's not a real thing, you just literally don't know what you're talking about. Go away. Go away. Okay, learn, study, read the books, come back, then you'll understand. Asu represents the red bird. It represents the red hawk. The red hawk comes back at the day appointed. Go look up the word locus. Locus. From the root, the Latin root word TSLOCUS, which is a perfect anagram of the exact spelling of the locust tree. And LOCUS means appointed. Appointed. That's what it means. An appointed place, an appointed thing. It means appointed. What? Listen. The Father had to orchestrate this red tail hawk happening on the heels of me talking with a guy about his mower, which is a red hawk mower. Okay? And had to give me the information, the knowledge, that wormwood, which represents Jesus, Asu, was called the red bird, the red fiery bird, which is actually what Russia literally means in cuneiform, which is why it went after Ukraine, because it's a working out, it's a playing out on the stage of the world, because UK in the cuneiform is a logogram that means parasite. That's what wormwood does. It kills parasites. That's what they're telling you. That's what they're showing you on the world stage. That's another sign that the star wormwood. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't make it up. They're showing you on the world stage that Russia, representing wormwood, is going after the parasite, Ukraine. They're all actors on a stage. Do you get that? Do you not get that? I hope you get that. They're all playing their parts. And that red bird representing Asu, the red bird, the red star, however you want to call it, because red dwarf stars is where you get glycolaldehyde. They didn't know this until about 10 or 12 years ago when they saw the star, a new star cloaked in a cloud from the infrared telescope in Chile, South America, and that cloud was made up of glycolaldehyde. They didn't know where RNA came from. They didn't know it. I didn't know anything about RNA replacement technology when I wrote The Tribulation 12 or more years ago. But I told you, did I not tell you, in that book, that the mark of the beast would be a shot given 1 to 4 times, and it would replace RNA. And then, whoop, just happens to happen, just coincidentally. Years later, here comes the COVID shot, which is given 1 to 4 shots if you count the boosters, 1 to 4 times rather, in 1 to 4 shots. And it's replacing RNA. That's what it does. I told you back when I wrote the Tribulation book in chapter 22 called The Truth About the Mark, that would happen, because that is what the Word says. The Word is not the Bible. The Word is in the Bible. What the Word is very specific. Very specific. It's the cuneiform. It tells us that. I will die on this hill. Listen, every pastor, every theologian, every Bible school professor, Bible college professor, every seminary professor, every religious leader, Catholic priests, everybody that I've ever tried to tell these things to, always does the same thing. Calls me names, resists it, kicks me out of the office, says don't come back, we don't want to hear this, this is heresy. All of them. And guess what? Now, everything that I've said for 25 years is happening exactly like I said it would. I told you in the book Secrets of the Sign of Jonah that venom would be given on Hanukkah. On Hanukkah! It would be given, it would be distributed to the population on Hanukkah. December 14, 2020 was right smack in the middle of Hanukkah. Hanukkah that year was the 10th through the 18th of December in 2020. Well, guess what? The first shot given in the United States, the first COVID shot, was given on December 14, 2020. I told you that would happen in Secrets of the Sign of Jonah. Go get the book. Go get the book. Read it. You will never find this information anywhere. You can speculate, you can prognosticate, you can share your so-called precious opinions all over the internet, and you will never know shit about the truth of what is happening, because it's all obtained through obedience. Obedience. You must do what the Bible tells you to do to get to the Word, because the truth is in the Word. It is the Word, and it's buried deeply in the Bible. This is why Christianity is divided into 40,000 denominational schisms, because those fools do not listen when the Father sends a messenger like me, and I'm sure there are others. They do not listen. Jesus told you this would be the case in the book of Matthew. He says, I will send you prophets and teachers and messengers, and he told you wouldn't listen. You'd criticize them, you'd hold them before your councils, and scourge them in your synagogues, pursue them from town to town, and all these other things. But you will not be blessed until you bless the messenger, meaning listen to the messenger. So, now, I had to get on my little soapbox there because I get passionate about this stuff. Because it is food for the soul in a starving world that doesn't know anything about the truth. Nothing. Oh, get your chakras aligned. Make sure your kundalini's straight. If you just do this or that, you'll be able to manifest. Get your frequency raised up there so you can ascend. Bullshit! Listen when I tell you. Bullshit. Is everything frequency? Yes. But you don't manifest anything. Anything that happens in your life that is good, that you requested, is because you requested it, and it is provided for you by the Most High Father, the Supreme Being. You do not do it. You simply follow a method. You simply make your requests known so the Father can do for you what he so desires to do for you. Trust me when I tell you that all the New Age tripe, all the New Age nonsense that is going around the internet, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere, is going to be part and parcel of the biggest snare the world has ever seen. I promise you. I promise. It's all Babylonian tripe and nonsense wrapped up in a new shiny wrapper, and people think they've discovered something. Oh, we know what to do. We know this new information is coming out because science is confirming. Bullshit! Let me tell you! Science is always catching up with the Word. Always. I have said so many things over the years ahead of time, and then science says, oh, well, we just discovered this, or we just did this. My students, you guys, have known these things for years. Science is not new. Science is old. Old. The word science is from the Latin root SCI, meaning to cut or divide. That's what happened in the beginning. A great division, a great divide. Because the fallen ones wanted to follow science, wanted to follow their intellect and all this other stuff. Empiricism, we want to know, we want to experience, and all, because they did not obey. They had everything. Just like Adam and Eve in the garden, right? And Eve just said, well, it wasn't enough. It's not enough. Perfection, perfect food, interacting with the animals, talking with the animals, perfect relationship with the Father. Well, it's not enough. And those of you who practice those things and look to those things as your God, you will lose also. But I digress. Here's the thing. That red bird motif, that theme, happened for a reason. The red bird landed on the locust tree because it is a literal depiction of Esau, the good man, the Lord of the vineyard, coming back at the day appointed. That's what locust literally means, appointed. And there was a red hawk out there with 3 confirming witnesses that was of the Father. This is not fanciful. It's not fantasy. It's not seeing something that I want to see and making it, appear to be this way. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. The Father's sending us a message. And here's some other interesting things about this, okay? Do you remember several years ago when I told you about 2 visions that I had back to back, almost simultaneously? They were both presented to me in the same way. They were on a bright white background, like a billboard. And they were just letters and numbers in bold black. The first one was 9 Tishri, which is a reference to the 9th of Av, or what they call Tish B'Av, which is a festival in Jewish tradition to commemorate the destruction of the first 2 temples in 70 AD and I think 586 BC, something like that. Anyway, that's what that's about, the destruction of the temple. Okay. 9 Tishri was the first vision that I had. The second one was presented in the same way, thick, bold black letters on a white background. And it was Pesach, P-E-S-A-C-H, which is the Hebrew word for Passover. And I always wondered about these 2 visions because if you follow tradition, right, these are like 8 months apart. Tish B'Av is in the month of Av, which is what just happened like maybe a couple weeks ago. It's August. And Pesach, or Passover, is traditionally celebrated in the, what they call the first Hebrew month, which is Abib, or Nisan. And this is what we celebrate Easter for. But that's not until March or April. And so I've always wondered why the Father would give me these. Well, I think we've been fooled. I really think we've been fooled. Truly. Because, and here's why. Because the first actual month of the year, according to the Bible, is Tishri. And if you go back to the book of Numbers and Exodus, that figure, YHVH, is telling them that they are to kill a lamb, and on the 14th day of the first month, and they're supposed to kill it and put the blood on the doorposts and everything that is representative of Passover. Okay? But the reason I think that everybody thinks that March, April is a month called Abib is because in those passages it says this will be the first month of the year for you, Abib. And so everybody thinks it's like a proper name. It's not a proper name. It's not a proper name. Listen close. Why is the judgment coming? Why is the judgment coming? Those of you at the inner circle understand, and I've shown this succinctly, it's inarguable, it's irrefutable, that the implementation of sex and reproduction, procreation, into the human condition was not something that was ever sanctioned by the Most High, by the Supreme Creator. This was something done literally by the fallen angels. It's why neither Jesus nor any of the 13 disciples, nor Paul, nor John the Baptist, they weren't married, didn't have kids, none of this. They didn't participate in those things. And people say, well, yeah, that's incorrect, Dr. McQuate, because the Bible talks about Peter's mother-in-law. Well, you're talking to me. And I am fully aware of what the Bible says. His mother-in-law's name was Tabitha because it's a play on the word tabat, which was the original word for tablet, which means spiral. It was not a tablet that law was written on. It was a spiral upon which code was written on. Like Hammurabi's code, he was the first lawgiver. His law was called code. The law was put onto the spiral. The code is put onto the spiral of Tabat. And it was a hot law because it represents the molecule called pyran from the Greek and Latin root pyre, which means fire. It's the same as the fire of Molech. Not that they sacrificed children to, but they bore children by means of. It's the phosphate molecule, which is before it's oxygenated, it's called phosphorus, which is the Greek word for the planet Venus, which in Latin they call Lucifer. Okay, that's a mouthful, I know, but pay attention when I talk because you'll learn things that you'll never learn anywhere else. This is why I say humbly, take notes and listen when I tell you these things. I've done this for 30 years, tens of thousands of hours. I know what I'm talking about. Peter didn't have a mother-in-law. It was an allegory. His mother-in-law had a fever. It doesn't mean fever. It means she had heat because she represents that tabat, that spiral on which the code is written, which is the spiral code. The hot tabat, the pyran in old genetic terms, which was put into the ark, but ark is Arun, and if you obey and rightly divide that, you get Arun, which literally in the ancient root means a spiral of the people. So the hot tabat, the hot spiral was put into the spiral of the people. It's an allegory for the creation of two-sided DNA. It's called the Ark of the Covenant, and we have these stories about Moses doing this. That's just all nonsense. It's an allegory. It's a genetic allegory telling you about the creation of two-sided DNA. That was the first covenant. Didn't work out. Hebrews 8:7 tells you the first covenant had a fault. If it didn't have a fault, there'd be no reason for the second. That's why they had to put Esther bonds into the DNA later on, just like they put the book of Esther into the two-sided bull 200 years after it was codified. So don't try to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. You need to study if you do not know these things. Most of the people who will see this video are inner circle members that know full well what I'm talking about. Those of you who are out there who may end up seeing this video thinking that this is crazy, you are way out of your depth. You have a lot of learning to do. The Bible says in Proverbs 25:2 that God hid the truth. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter, the honor of kings to discover a matter. These things were hidden a long time ago because, as 2 Thessalonians 2:11 says, they did not love the truth, so God handed them over to a strong delusion that would cause them to believe lies. That is the world today. That is Babylon. That is the science of Babylon. That is the medical field of Babylon. That is the educational field of Babylon. That is the religious sector of Babylon. That's Babylon. There are truths in these things, but it's all lies. It's all lies. It will never lead you to the truth. You have to understand the truth, void of the lies, and that's what I do at the Inner Circle. I give you the truth. I discovered the cipher years ago, 25 or more years ago. I discovered a cipher. The Father told me I would. They prophesied over me. They told me that I would, and I've done it. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much, but here's the thing. What's the judgment for? The judgment is to separate the stones of the temple. Jesus said when he returns, there will not be one stone upon another. These are the stones of fire, the pyran, stones of fire. Okay, they're metaphors for the stones, the two stones in our DNA, the ribose molecule and the phosphate molecule of the temple, which is our body. He says, when I return, there will not be one stone upon another. Okay? When he comes, he cuts that curtain. Curtain is the nucleotides. Cytosine, uracil, thymine, adenine, guanine, the G's in the cuneiform and the ancient root are N's. So if you take the beginning of each of those nucleotides that hold the chains of darkness, according to Jude 4, they hold these together, you have C-U-R-T-A-N. That's the curtain that rips and takes the two stones apart. And this is getting ready to happen. It's actually already happening unbeknownst to people because they're not paying attention. Like Luke says, you did not know the day of your visitation, and it's going to kill you. It's going to level you to the ground and kill the children within you because you did not know the day of your visitation. You don't know. You don't know because you don't listen. You don't listen. I've tried everything I can do to get people to listen. Given away thousands of hours free, thousands of dollars of books and CDs and DVDs and all kinds of things free. And in Babylon, people attribute the value they pay for something to that thing. And if I give it to them free, they just don't see any value in it. and they don't appreciate it, and they just go on their merry way. They think, wow, that was fascinating, but they get sucked into being entertained instead of caring about being educated so they can be free by knowing the truth, because the truth is what makes you free, according to Jesus. So let me go back to what I was asking you. What is the reason for the judgment? The stones have to be separated. The abomination has to be made desolate. I told you earlier, that's the uterus, literally. The abomination made desolate. The bedulugma, meaning the funnel-shaped bowl that holds the seed of the drill plow. It's a metaphor. This is why miscarriages are at an all-time high. Uteruses are drying up. Women are having all kinds of feminine problems. Okay? Even men are becoming sterile in unprecedented numbers. The birth rate is down, lower than it's ever been in recorded history, all over the world. Don't tell me the judgment's not underway. You just don't know the day of visitation, like Luke says. So I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to help you. So what is the reason for the judgment? To do away with the sex, the hex, all these things, procreation. Why is procreation bad? Because the Father did not sanction this. It was the fallen angels that came down and did this genetic manipulation to do this. They wanted to do this, and he let them. They were given 70 weeks, but Daniel 9 says they have 70 weeks to make an end of sin. Sin is procreation, sex and procreation, and there's huge amounts of evidence that I've uncovered to show this in the Bible, and that it's uncovered by the ancient root. It's all there, but it's been covered up because people denied the truth. And so the Father said, okay, I'm going to hand you over to this. You can do this experiment, which is what Jesus called it in Revelation 3:10. The trial is called, it means the experiment. Those who follow him are protected from this time. But he says you have 70 weeks to make an end of sin. Look at the Hebrew letter called sin. It's called sin. It's a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It shows two coming together. And I can't do too many hand signals on here because they don't make this thing go wonky. Two coming together, and from that union, a third coming out. It's a symbol of sex and procreation. Again, it's why Jesus, the disciples, Paul, John the Baptist, and others did not engage in this. They did not engage in it. They took 1 John 3:9 very seriously. He who is born of God does not sin. Because, the word is hoti, translated for, but it means because. He who is born of God does not sin because he keeps his seed in him and cannot sin. It's creating a direct correlation between keeping your sin, your sexuality inside of you, honoring the Father and his will, to not sinning. Oh, you must interpret that, Dr. McQuate. That's the oil of the Holy Spirit there, keeping in your lamp here. Now, what the hell? The Greek word for seed is sperm, for Christ's sake. Stop trying to fit things into your doctrinal box and cramming it in there, because it's all blurting out the sides and causing all these factions. 40,000. Just obey. Do the right thing. So, back to my question. I'll try not to digress again. But I digress because I think those are important things to say. That being the case, the reason for the judgment is to eliminate those things. It's already underway, okay? Sex, sexuality. Excuse me. And it's underway. This is why, going back to the two visions I had, Tish B'Av and Passover, which was really on the first day of the 14th day of the first actual month, not a new month called Abib, or later in the book of Esther called Nisan, but described as Abib. Okay? Why is it described as Abib? See, if you look at the word, it doesn't know the origin. It'll tell you it doesn't know the origin of the word Abib. It'll say likely from this or borrowed from the Babylonian. It doesn't know. I know. I know what it means. The Father shows me these things, thousands of things over the last 30 years. Here's what it means. Keep in mind, we're talking about Tish B'Av, meaning the 9th of Av, Tish B'Av, and the first actual month, which is Tishri, which is when they did the Passover. originally. Tish B'Av and Tishri, called Abib. Tish, well, let me say this first. If you obey and you rightly divide Abib, you get two perfect logograms from the ancient root. From the ancient Hebrew root. What are those? You get Ab and you get Eb. Ab is a logogram and Eb is a logogram. They both mean window and corner. Window and corner. And people say, well, that doesn't make any sense. What the heck's he talking about here? Window and corner? What's he talking about? Listen. Who is Esau? He's the good man who went on a long journey. He's also the young man in Proverbs 7. He's also the young man in Proverbs 7 who had his side pierced. Just like Adam had his side pierced. Colossians makes a correlation between Adam and Christ. Esau on the cross had his side pierced. That's who he is. That's who he is. He's the good man. He's the Lord of the vineyard. He's the young man. Why? What happens when the good man, Esau, Wormwood, comes back? He judges the whore of Babylon. That's what it's called in Revelation 17 and 18. Who is that? It's his wife who seduced the young man in Proverbs 7. Literally, it says in that verse, I believe it's 7:20 in Proverbs, it says she forced him with her words, with her much fair speech. We're talking about witchcraft. We're talking about spells. He was forced. Just like Adam was put into a deep sleep. The word is tardema. It's referring to witchcraft, a spell, a comatose state. Never tells us he woke up, by the way. That's only happening now. It's happening if you're paying attention. So, the good man is coming back to judge his wife. Literally. It's completely opposite of what the Christian church teaches. Oh, he's coming back for his bride. He's not coming back for his bride. He's coming back with the bride. Read Revelation 21. He's coming back with his bride. It is called New Jerusalem. Adorned as a bride. That's what he went to prepare for those who follow him. The bride is New Jerusalem. You only get this religious trickery if you go to Paul, who talks about the church being the bride of Christ. No. I'll do another video at a later date for those of you who are unaware of who Paul was. The Benjamite, the wolf, the Pharisee, etc. There's a lot of things about Paul. He was not who you think he was. He was the one Jesus warned about. But if you want to shut the video off at this point because I said that, please do and go your way. I don't want to deal with you. You put negative comments in the section if I post this on TikTok or YouTube. I'm going to delete them. I'm going to block you. Period. End of story. I don't engage in that. I don't allow that bullshit. I do not, and I will not. I've worked too hard. The Father's used me in too many ways to get this information out and get to people, to have somebody who's doctrinally laden and a religious indoctrinated person to muck up the waters. Not going to happen. The evidence is irrefutable. The bride is New Jerusalem. It is the city, New Jerusalem, that he went to prepare for, and he's coming back with. The bride, the original bride, who did this, is being judged. They're the same ones of Mark chapter 12, who murdered the only son, who was sent to be a messenger, by the way, not to be murdered or crucified, and stole the inheritance, which is the blood, which is RNA. The glycolaldehyde, the ribonucleic acid, because that's what is required for procreation. Procreation is just genetic reproduction. So she's the one being judged. What's she being judged for? Read Proverbs 7. It says that she saw the young man he went by her, what? He went by her corner, and she was in her window. What did I tell you that Abib meant? Ab-ib means corner and window. Corner and window. This is because it's all about, it's a reminder of the judgment that happens at this time between 9 Tishba Av, and the 14th of Tishri, or this actual Passover time. And this is why, listen, it's called Tish B'Av and Tishri, because Tish is the logogram, the ancient root that means sex, sexuality, shame. This is the time of judgment. It also just happens to happen at the Feast of Trumpets, which is called the Day of Judgment. The Day of Judgment. Now, if it happens now, fantastic. So many people online, including that, he goes by Brother Joshua, who had this vision back in 2017, 2018, that he said Christ basically told him that he would be coming back for his church on September 23rd, 2025. Now, if this happens this year, fantastic. We at the Inner Circle are absolutely ready. If you are listening to what I'm telling you, if you're aligning with the truth that I've been teaching you for the last 25 years, if you are applying it to your life, if you're walking with ASU, if you're walking in the truth, if you're putting the worldly things aside and not getting involved in the things that we're told not to do, if you're living your life like that, then you are, by definition, following Christ. Christians aren't going to go anywhere. Christians have no hope of salvation. It's the followers of Christ that have the hope of salvation. That's what Jesus told Peter. Peter said, what is it for us to follow you? Jesus said, truly, I tell you, those who have followed me, who have given up homes and wives and children and lands and all, he gives a whole list of things there, who have followed me in the regeneration will receive back 100-fold. That's 100 times, 100 times, 100, 100 times. And will inherit eternal life. He said those who follow him, not who believe in him. Christians say that because Paul said it, if you believe that Jesus died for you and you believe that, you'll be saved. That's not what Jesus said. Jesus told Peter, those who follow me. Why is that important to know? Because the Greek word follow is akalatheo. And it means literally to wholly, fully conform to his example. What you do matters. This whole nonsense about, I have faith, I believe in Jesus. Jesus is the truth, and I believe in Jesus, so I'm free, I'm saved. Well, you continue to believe that. By all means, continue to believe that. This is why Christianity was established by Paul. It is not what Jesus taught by a long stretch. It is not. He set that up as a snare, as a literal trap for those who think that they can inherit eternal life by participating in an unsanctioned murder and theft of an inheritance, which is the blood. If you are of that mindset, you continue to believe what you believe. Because it's the murderers who are outside of heaven. It's the wine bibbers. It's the ones who practice these bad things. It's the works. And if you, whether you did it firsthand or whether you practice it by proxy, you participate by proxy, telling people that you've got to believe in the blood of Jesus. Jesus didn't teach that. He knew that it would be part of our Constitution. He knew that. That's what the Passover was all about. Literally, he knew that would be part of our Constitution. But he also knew that those who did it, just like Mark 12 says, just like this whole story I'm telling you is about, just like Revelation 17 and 18 says, it's the whore of Babylon. It's the ones who use that. It's all witchcraft. Revelation 18:23 says that all nations were deceived by thy sorceries. Sorceries is pharmakia. It means sorcery, divination, witchcraft. But the Aramaic word for deceived is doia, and it means literally made, created, and set up. The same words used in the creation process, because it wasn't the Father, the supreme being, who did this, who created the world. It was the fallen angels. That's why the word Elohim never meant God as a singular capitalized letter, capitalized word. It means gods, angels, rulers, and judges. And YHVH is just a ludicrous. To say that's Jehovah or Yahweh is absolutely insane. It doesn't even follow the rules of the Abjad language Hebrew, which requires nichud, vowel markings, to be put in between the consonants. You can't pronounce that. Not because it's so holy that you can't pronounce it, because the scribes, who Jeremiah 8:8 says are liars, hid it. All they did, and no one else will tell you this because the Father allowed me to uncover this many years ago. I discovered this. They took the vowels of an ancient Sumerian name, which was the name of the creator gods, the vowels, and they transliterated them into Hebrew and through Aramaic rather, and then to Hebrew, and then turned them backwards. Just like Isaiah 29:15-16 says, "Woe to those men who seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord. Surely your turning things upside down will be esteemed as the potter and the clay." That's the potter and the clay is that figure YHVH, because that was the potter, and who took the clay out of themselves, that pyrene that I told you about, that phosphate molecule, that hot spiral, that hot tabat, right? Peter's mother-in-law, and put it in the human condition. That's the story of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? That's who that is. And the letters are A-U-A-I, transliterated as YHVH. But those are just the vowels of Anunnaki. A-N-U-N-A-K-I. And the scribes took those out, turned them backwards, transliterated them into the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and Christians say, "Oh, Jehovah, Yahweh, oh, yeah, no." No, that's bullcrap. Stop it. Stop it. You're speaking lies. And in the process, you're preventing yourself from understanding the truth. It's only by knowing the truth and following it, like Jesus said, that you can go home. So, Abib is not the name of a month. We've been fooled. And I think the entirety of Judaism has been fooled. And Judeo-Christianity has been fooled. Truly. Am I trying to turn centuries of tradition on its ear? Absolutely, I am. Because it's lies. It's lies. It's not a name. It's a description. Ab-Ib, window corner. At the same time of Tish B'Av and Tishri, because Tish means sex, sexuality, and shame. It's the time of the judgment. And this is when this all happened, when the lamb was slain, because Jesus was the lamb, and the blood of the lamb, which is the glycolaldehyde of the sun, which was used to create we call it blood, used to create the RNA, which is the same as ribonucleic acid, the same as Adam's rib, was taken to facilitate sin, which is procreation. Do you understand? Is it making sense to you? Or are you still in this doctrinal box, and you're having this fight in your brain right now? I hope you're listening to what I'm telling you. This is why I believe I was given those two visions years ago. Because it's all about telling us when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen. And I just find it mind-blowing that my situation here with the red hawk and the locust tree and the red hawk mower, and knowing that that's the red bird, and all these things that have converged right now, right, are happening at the same time when 3I Atlas is coming in at an unprecedented speed, 120 to 130,000 miles per hour. And Avi Loeb, Harvard physicist, is saying that there's no way that this is a naturally occurring thing. David Sereda did two interviews with Leak Project and Kerry Cassidy both, and said he's proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, 100%, that this object was sent by the Supreme Creator, and he gave the math to back it up, and it's mind-blowing. Okay? It's just mind-blowing. But before you get into all that stuff, get the books. I've written 17 books. What I've shared with you tonight is just a tip of the iceberg. If you're watching this video on YouTube or TikTok or wherever I may upload it, get the books. Get them. PaxionPublishing.com. Publishing.com. Ab-Ib. window, nook. It's no coincidence that those two exact words are used in Proverbs 7, describing what the Bible calls the whore of Babylon, the adulterous wife of the good man, who is coming back at the day appointed. And the red hawk is on the locust tree. The red bird is on the locust tree, and locust means appointed. Look, by two witnesses, the thing is established. I gave you like 4, just for the bird thing. Something's happening. Something's going to happen. How this ascension, this rapture will happen, I'm not sure. But I will tell you this. A red-tailed hawk is a raptor. Did you hear me? A red-tailed hawk is a raptor. And raptor is from the Latin root R-A-P-T, which is the exact same root as rapture. The exact same root. It means to take or snatch away. I hope you heard everything that I told you tonight. This was a very special video, and I was trying to get as much information in this short amount of time as I could. I knew this would be a long video. It actually was longer than I thought it would be, but there's a lot going on right now, and you need to understand these things because no one else will tell you these things. Go back if you need to and watch the video again, okay? But please, if you're watching this on YouTube or TikTok, don't just take it for granted. Don't just like gorge yourself with all this information and flip through another video and another and go on. Come to the inner circle. Join the inner circle. Innercircle.us. Innercircle.us. Join. There's like 7 different memberships. It's a paid service. It will never be free because a workman is worthy of his wages. And this is how the fathers allowed me to make my income, make my living. It will never be free. And I will never give things away free again because I've done that for years and years and years. And people do not appreciate it in this current environment. They just don't. So show appreciation. Join or get the books. If you join the inner circle, you can read the books online. They're all online. And I've also written, there's over 80 articles there. It's like 85 articles there, too. And you won't get the information anywhere else, I guarantee you. I guarantee you. So I hope this video made sense. I hope the things that I said made sense. I hope it made an impact on you. I hope it stirred something in you to get you to understand that the prophecies in the Bible are not just fables or fairy tales or myths. We live in a cycle. These things have happened before. They have. Literally. This is not the first time around. But this is the last time. There's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. Old heaven and old earth are going to be passed away. And there will be those who ascend and go to New Jerusalem. You see, before, in Revelation 17:18, before Babylon was judged, John was taken up by an angel in the spirit. And this is exactly what Jesus says in Matthew 24, when it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the first one, immediately after the tribulation of those days, he will send his angels to gather together his elect out of the 4 winds, which is the 4 corners, because that's where the horns are, which is in Zechariah 1. They're being judged by the carpenters and by the horsemen, which are the horsemen who open the seals in Revelation 6, which are the same horses that ran over Jezebel, who was the witch and the queen, like the woman of Isaiah, like the woman of Isaiah, Revelation 17, like the adulterous wife of Proverbs 7, etc., etc., etc. Okay? It's people who engage in those things, and practice those things that are going to be judged. My goodness. So, John was taken up, just like Jesus said, in the spirit by an angel. But what people don't know, because they want to spiritualize this stuff all the time, is that word spirit, pneuma, P-N-E-U-M-A, in the Greek, is the same meaning of the Hebrew word spirit, R-U-A-C-H, ruach, which is in Genesis 1, which hovered over the waters. It means wind or breath, or spirit. However, that's not how you find answers. You find answers by digging, by going to the root and learning the context. And the original, or not the original, but the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the word spirit was drawn as a saucer with a door in the middle. literally. John was taken up in a saucer by an angel, quite literally. This has been hidden. This is why these saucers are being seen all over the world. Furthermore, this is exactly how the ancient root describes Messiah coming. Zechariah 9:9, Matthew 21:4 or 21:5, it says Messiah comes on an ass, the foal of a colt. An ass is kamor in the Hebrew, and in the Greek it's onos, but in the Aramaic it's kamor, just like in the Old Testament. It's the same word, but if you obey and you rightly divide that, kamor, it literally means his metal disc of silver, his silver metal disc. I'm not making it up. That's what it means. That's the definition of ass. Messiah comes on an ass. Because why? People say, well, why would God need flying saucers? Stop leaning to your own understanding, first of all. Your opinion means absolutely nothing. Nothing. Just like my opinion means nothing. It has to be grounded in the truth to mean something. Stop leaning on your own understanding and reasoning that way. Here's what it's telling you. Those things, those saucers, used to be called hell and death and described as tortoise shells. They're part of the kingdom, which is the basilia, which is a play on the word basilica. If you look at St. John's Basilica, the model of St. John's Basilica, it's got 7 tortoise shells on it because these things used to be called tortoise shells. That's what they are. The shape of them. And they came from Saturn. That's why they're called hell and death. And they also come with the 4th horseman of Revelation chapter 6. It says hell and death comes with him. His name was hell and death came with him. You have to read that chapter. Revelation chapter 6. The 4th horseman brings hell and death. But in Revelation 1:14, Asu, Jesus, says he got the keys to hell and death. See, there's so much that Christians don't know. And all I've done for the last 30 years is try desperately to the point where sweat beads up on my forehead to try to get you to understand these things. And I've been patient, I've been kind, I've been loving, I've been compassionate. And all you do is say, no, go away. The Holy Spirit will lead us. You've never once been led to the truth by the Holy Spirit. If you had been, you would be single, unified, the whole, instead of being divided into 40,000 denominational schisms. I'm teaching you truth. I'm laying it out for you tonight. But this is only a little bit of it. It's like a smorgasbord at the inner circle. Literally. It's huge amounts of information. It's just waiting for you if you just come and join. Or if you're not a joiner, you don't want to do that. You don't want to get the meat of it all. You want just a little bit. Go buy the books. PakistanPublishing.com. You can buy ebooks. You can buy packages. You can save a lot of money if you buy packages. But this is really the end of my video. This is really what I wanted to share with you. That all the signs are converging. They're compiling, right? They're compiling on one another. And there's a lot going on that all these signs are truly prophetic if you know the meaning of the signs. Everybody's speculating about orbs and drones and all that. I've written a whole article about that. I think it's talked about in the Bible. These are talked about in the Bible, but you'll never, by using the traditional methods of hermeneutics, you will never, ever, ever in a million years understand it. Because hermeneutics, the methods of translation taught in seminaries and Bible colleges, is based on Hermes. That's why it's called hermeneutics. Hermes was a trickster, too. Okay? And you'll never find the answers that way. Using these techniques for centuries is what's caused the schisms within Christianity. Okay? If you want to be whole, unified, and you want to walk in the truth, come to the inner circle, look at the books. That's really all I have for now tonight. It's getting late, and this video is long, but it's jam-packed with information. And I just want to say thanks for listening, and Scout wants to say thanks for listening too. He appreciates you, he loves you, he knows you're thinking about him, and he can't wait to see you again. And I can't wait to see you, too, one of these days real soon. Thanks for listening. This is Dr. Scott McQuate from the Inner Circle, innercircle.us. Talk to you soon. Signing off.